go to our panel here on this issue. So it's been very interesting. So you had folks like that dude Tariq out there. Oh no, there's no agenda, so you shouldn't vote. Then somebody told me that Corey Holcomb was saying somebody said he gave these valid reasons why you shouldn't vote. Here to me, I think is part of the issue. One, the people who have for years sold the notion that if you only vote, right, that changes things. That's nuts, because you can't just only vote. I always say voting is the end of one process at the beginning of another. But the other thing is, I believe you have to also connect the dots. Right. Because the reality is most people really don't understand the role that government plays in their lives every single day. To have somebody say, well, yeah, like literally one brother said, yeah, the people who run for DAs, they're part of the same system. Krasner in Philadelphia comes in and is changing the system as DA. Amaris Ayala in Florida. Craig Watkins, when he became the first DA in Dallas County, put into place a program to retest significant cases. More than 30 individuals, mostly black, who were convicted in prison, some as many as 20 and 30 years, were let go because the DNA was retested. That doesn't happen if that black DA is not there. And so we can't act as if you don't have black people of conscience who run for positions who say, I'm gonna do the right thing in the position, and then go, well, no, they not real, they bougie. I mean, at some point, you can't satisfy some of these folks, Cleo.
But Roland, see, you are brilliant, educated, and a political, you know what time it is, the day it happened, whose mama it was, and what day it turned blue. I mean, you know all this stuff. A lot of people in our community, and I'm not saying this is a good idea, and I agree with what you're saying in terms of the logic of it. But as I say over and over again, unfortunately, a lot of us are not coming from a place of logic. We come from a place of impulse. And when people come from a place of impulse and emotion, they rely on optics. And black males feel like they've been let down over and over again, including by Barack Obama.
Yes.
Who never directly addressed black men, not unless there was a Trayvon Martin crisis, and it was even abstract at that. So a lot of brothers are watching the landscape and seeing police brutality still being there, some people seeing black men still being murdered, wondering what the Congressional Black Caucus is doing, which from their perspective, they're doing nothing. And they feel like while they're dealing with being followed around the store and all the other traumas that black men deal with, that there's nobody in the explicit ways. Everything is all abstract, and and then we have these black women affirmations around their voting power, and black men are not addressed, are not spoken to, they don't exist, they feel like it's all irrelevant. So what you're saying is all true, but it's all abstract, and people are not really understanding that.
Reality perception.
And that's why, to me, why having the information where you can say, no, this happened, this happened, this happened. I literally had one woman who said, well, Roland, you got to really, hear both sides. And I said, by not voting, I said, sister, I said, I can't hear that side. I said, now I'm listening to you. I understand what you're saying. And I said, and I can walk you through why I disagree with it. I said, but the problem she says, well, I got a black son and change is not happening fast enough. And I'm going, look, first of all, that's been the mantra of black people for 399 years, not happening fast enough. I think what has to happen is, and this is to me also the difference that we don't see today, what Reverend Barber has been trying to do. The beauty of SCLC, the beauty of CORE, the beauty of, and I can't wait to, guys, we're going to replay the interview that I did with Reverend Dr. James Lawson, one of our greatest mobilizers, organizers, and thinkers. The biggest difference that we have is we don't have these institutions the citizenship education training. Dr. Dorothy Cotton, who just died a few months ago, she was over the SCLC's citizenship education training. This is what she said in her book, and even when I interviewed her. And guys, we had that interview. It's also on my YouTube channel. When you came into SCLC, you didn't say, I want to join SCLC, then boom, you went to the meeting. No.
But what year was this?
This was in the 60s.
That's what I thought.
No, but follow me here. But that's why I'm trying to get us to say what's old ain't old. Yeah. It can also be new. When you came in,
it's environmentally old.
This is what they did. They said, first of all, I need to find out who you are, how you think, and frankly, where you stand. And then they said they had to reprogram folks where they were, and then when they passed, then sent them back out.
Yeah.
We got to have citizen training. We got to actually have sessions teaching people about civics, teaching people about actually what is happening, as opposed to walking around going, "Oh, ain't nothing happening."
Well, I think it's what you said, earlier when you started off and saying that there's been a failure to connect the dots. Because for years, we've been told, especially the black communities, that you just need to vote. The whole, whether it's vote or die or any of the other slogans, we've been told that the only thing that we need to do is vote. And so there's real no explanation beyond the fact that we needed to vote. And so you have politicians for generations.
And folks voted, and they're kind of like, "All right, I'm good."
Yeah. So
and
what else?
disappeared.
2 years.
Yeah. So what else?
4 years.
Then they didn't vote next time because then nothing happened.
And
From their perspective.
because
Right.
after the election, then it was like, okay, no, you still got to show up. You
Right.
still got to
Hold them accountable.
You still got to.
It's a 24/7, 365 process. I mean, and I agree with you. It falls on the politicians, it falls on the candidate, it falls on the organization's responsibility to keep folks engaged, to keep voters engaged. So you see the small wins. So you see if I give a historical point, when Ted Kennedy died, and Scott Brown got elected in 2009 in his seat, that was a small win that helped catapult Republicans taking the House in 2010.
Oh, that's a good point.
That was a small win. When Doug Jones won last year, that was a small win that folk could see and touch and experience that helped propel what happened yesterday.
Cleo.
If we want black people to vote, particularly black men, but everybody should vote who's black and everybody else, but I'm talking about the people who feel the most alienated from my own research and observation.
Right.
We have to not just say, look, you better vote and you better, come to break down with all these theoretical facts that you often break down. We have to actually take seriously and engage their perspective, their worldview. I mean, back when Lawson was doing things, black people were less confused. We're now very, very confused. You got black folks all in large
Sustained.
with blonde hair.
Sustained. Okay.
Cleo,
in court, sustained means the judge agrees with you.
Okay. I should have
Y'all,
known
Cleo
that.
did not say who was the best man.
No,
go ahead.
No, I did not. But I'm telling you that
Go ahead.
that black folks. The other day, I was in Baltimore and I saw. Well, I probably shouldn't say this. That'd be too controversial. Anyway, black folks are confused.
Well,
One
Brandon.
of my favorite quotes.
Hold on. Cleo, then Brandon.
I want to back that up. Black people are confused and are being chastised for being confused. Our youth are ahistorical and being chastised for being ahistorical. And people don't understand that people don't know that they don't know that they don't know.
Hold on. I'm coming to you, Brandon. But I got to say this here. Because, y'all, so I tweeted this photo of me yesterday with my Black Voters Matter hoodie on. I said, you need to vote because Trayvon Martin can't, because Jordan Davis can't, because Aiyana Jones can't, Rekia Boyd can't. So I've had some people on my side. I'm like, oh man, you out of touch with how you raising up the dead to force folks to vote. And I said, you do know that we said Jimmy Lee Jackson was killed in Selma, and that's what that precipitated the bloody Sunday. I said, you do know when the death of Medgar Evers and the 4 girls in Birmingham. I said, not the king. I can go on and on. I said, you act like it's new that we've said when somebody black has been killed and then you're fighting for social justice, and we said vote because they can't. And these people like, oh, you out of touch because you shouldn't be using their names. And I'm going, have you read a book? Do you even understand that this ain't new with black people? I got to go to Brandon. I'm going to come back to Cleo.
Quickly, you're talking about being misinformed. One of my favorite quotes, Denzel Washington said, if you watch the news, you're misinformed. If you don't watch, you're uninformed. To that very point, I think we're a victim of our own culture nowadays. We got a 24-hour news network. You got instant gratification with social media. People have short attention spans nowadays, and education system's not controlled by us. And so I agree to your point, Roland. You're talking about having civic lessons and trying to retrain our minds. You talked about before, I think, the weakness of modern day sororities, fraternities, nonprofits, and churches in that atmosphere. I think that's where the focus needs to go to having that resurgence.
And to Cleo's point, again, I've talked to these brothers and I'm listening to them, and what I'm trying to get them to do, and also it's another great interview we did with Ali Sadiq, with part of the Beat Woke deal. So trust me, we're going to be we posted those interviews. We're going to be kicking those interviews out so you can actually see them in this entirety. Because trust me, there's a reason why I'm doing those interviews. Because the thing is, yes, people are saying, well, I'm not seeing progress fast enough. But progress has never been fast.
Right.
It's never been fast. And for me, if I got an option between giving up
Or keep going.
and keep going, I can't give up.
Right.
And so that education is important. And I'm talking about, and then so my issue is, so the reason last night I called out Tariq and I called out Jason Whitlock. And then when somebody told me, well, Corey Holt, I'm going to call all these cats out, because my deal is, when you have a platform, you have a responsibility with a platform.
Yeah.
And the question is, what do you do with your platform? And if your deal is, oh, they all corrupt, I ain't voting, just pray to God and return to the family, all is going to be well. When I asked Jason Whitlock, I said, okay, fine, Jason. Let's say you believe that the home should be a mama and a daddy, and they believe in God. Well, say, well, fine. Let's say you got a black family, daddy there, love mama, families together, they go to church on Sunday, they go to Bible study on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. I said, and when they walk out that door, the kids going to sorry schools. Now what we going to do? They love Jesus, and they got a whole great family. What we going to do? And he couldn't answer the question.
And that's one of the things
Look,
that.
the reason that we know, and hey, it's your fault I'm bringing him up, Roland. The reason we know who Jason is because white people approve of Jason. What if the fact that white people approve of Jason and appreciate the confusing anti-black rhetoric that he says, we wouldn't even know he exists. And white people always the white media always parading confused black folks or somewhere on television every chance they get. Charles Barkley, we can go on and on, so they can create confusion among black people. And unfortunately, it works. So you cannot ask Jason Whitlock a rational question about black people, because his whole frame of reference and point of view and his whole theories are anti-black.
Yeah, well, and I think what we're talking about is voter apathy. And so the reason for voter apathy, I can use my community. I live in DC's Ward 8. And during the midterms, I think we had about 8%. 8% of our residents voted. Only 8%. I think we're up to 30% now. But when you talk to people and you hear the reasons, this is, of course, DC has always been run by Democrats. There have been no Republicans to run D.C., and the schools are some of the worst in the nation. The crime is bad. The development, there's a lot of what people are talking about with gentrification and development. I'm going on a show after I leave here to actually talk about gentrification. But these are things that have happened in Democratic cities, and I think one of the things that I like to be mindful of is that I don't think this is something, voter apathy is not something that's isolated to black people. It's not. So if you're in West Virginia, you probably don't know the same reasons that you're voting for your candidate.
Disproportionate problem. That's black.
Yesterday, 2 out of 5 Americans didn't vote. Yeah. So it's not all racial boundaries. Apathy is not an issue just for that. Going back to the 2016 election, 51% of Americans didn't vote for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, and so it's those who vote who are having a say, and that doesn't represent necessarily.
Most of them are voting though, compared to us.
I am going to make the point again that between now and the next local election, and between the 2020 presidential election, what is required is massive citizenship training. Yeah. What Reverend Barber has been doing with repairs of the breach in the Poor People's Campaign, they have been going to these places, and they have not been holding rallies. They've been holding training sessions. They've been holding teaching. Reverend Dr. Jim Lawson in the Nashville movement, he told me something that was amazing. He said they spent 3 months discussing why they were doing what they were doing. Then the next 3 months, it was what they're going to do. Folks, that's 6 months
That's a plan.
of them sitting down, conversing, hashing out your crazy idea, your crazy idea, your crazy idea, your crazy idea. He said it was all this back and forth. He said because what we were trying to do had never been done before. He said, so we need to know what the hell we were even doing. And so, and it was amazing because again, walking that through it and see when we talk about Diane Nash and James Bevel and all these people, they all came out of Lawson's Nashville movement. They were trained before they even got to Dr. King and SCLC. They went through training. We have people, and a lot of Black Lives Matter activists, and I'll say this, a lot of them were doing the training as well. But the issues that we have is we have to have that massive training. That's where the dots are connected, and that's where people go, oh, I ain't realize that person impacts this and that impacts this. Now I see why you saying you got to vote.
Hold on.
I
Also,
agree
it's
with
important
that.
to trainings, but not in an echo chamber. I want to credit you with having a diversity of thought in these discussions.
Man.
It's needed.
No, I said
agree.
training. I didn't say.
I'm adding to. I'm agreeing with you. I'm adding to your point.
Training means everybody.
I'm adding to your point. It's not always going to understand, but you recognize that value of that. I'll make sure.
Training means everybody. Training means everybody.
Now everybody recognizes that. I'm agreeing with you.
Leo.
Well, I agree with what you're saying, but I also want to reiterate that back in the day, in the 60s and 70s, we were a lot less confused about what our enemies and what our adversaries look like. Right now, some of us got more blonde hair than white folks. I'm talking about right now. So my point is that we need contextual discussions like what you said, but we also need to address the scar tissue that have resulted from years of no conversation and that has festered into mass confusion and people being alienated out of this whole process.